I didn't think I could feel anything again. That's not something I would have admitted before. Not when I was younger. Not when I still believed that being strong meant staying silent. But I'm not that man anymore. I've lived enough years now to know the difference between strength and emptiness. And somewhere along the way, I became hollow without noticing. I've built things, a life, a name, something that looks like it should mean I made it. But when the noise fades at night, when the world finally stops asking things from me, I'm left with a quiet that doesn't feel peaceful. It feels unfinished. I almost turned this recording off. There's a part of me that still thinks I should keep all of this buried, that nothing good comes from opening doors I spent years trying to close. But then there's something else, something quieter, stubborn, like it's been sitting in my chest for a long time, waiting for me to finally stop running, and somehow it feels like I'm talking to you, not to a crowd, not to strangers, just you. I don't know where you are, I don't know your name, but I feel like you've been carrying something heavy too. And I'm speaking now because something inside me won't let me stay silent anymore. There was a night, I still remember it too clearly. The kitchen light was the only thing on. Everything else in the house was dark. The kind of dark that doesn't just sit in the room, it presses in on you. I had made tea. I don't even remember why. I didn't want it. I just needed something to hold, something warm. But it went cold. I sat there longer than I should have. The chair across from me was empty, and I kept looking at it like someone was supposed to be there. I didn't say this to anyone then, but I'll tell you now. That silence, it wasn't just quiet. It was loud. It was the kind of silence that makes you hear everything you've been trying to ignore. The words you didn't say, the apologies you never made, the people who stopped choosing you, and the ones you pushed away before they could. I remember staring at my phone. There was a message I had typed out, but I never sent it. I read it over and over again. Changed a few words, deleted it, wrote it again, and then I just locked the screen. I told myself it didn't matter, but it did. It mattered more than I was willing to admit. I didn't understand it at the time, but I think that was the moment something inside me started shutting down. Not all at once, just slowly, like a light dimming so gradually. You don't realize you're sitting in the dark until it's too late. If you've ever waited for someone who never came, then maybe you know what that kind of silence feels like. Not the peaceful kind, the kind that stretches time, the kind that makes you question your own worth without saying a single word. There was another moment, different place, same feeling. A hospital waiting room. Not for me, for someone I cared about. Or at least, someone I thought I mattered to. The chairs were uncomfortable. The air was cold. There was this faint smell. Something sterile, something lifeless. I sat there for hours, watching people come and go, watching families sit close together, talking in quiet voices, holding hands. No one sat next to me. No one asked if I was okay, and I didn't ask anyone to. I kept my hands folded, tried to look like I had everything under control. But inside, I felt like I didn't belong anywhere, like I had somehow ended up in a life where I was always just outside of something real. I didn't say this to anyone then either, but I'll tell you now. That was the first time I felt invisible, not ignored, not forgotten, invisible. And once you feel that, it stays with you. Maybe you felt that too, like you're present, but not seen. Like you could disappear for a while and it wouldn't change anything for anyone. I used to think I understood love. I thought it was about showing up, providing, being dependable, doing the right things at the right time. And I did all of that. But I didn't understand what it meant to be open, to actually let someone see the parts of me that weren't put together. So instead, I stayed controlled, measured, safe, and slowly I became someone even I couldn't reach anymore. There's a memory I don't revisit often, a door closing, not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly. The kind of quiet that somehow hurts more. I remember standing there after, not chasing, not calling out, just standing. Like my body didn't know how to respond. I told myself it was fine, that people leave, that it happens. But that wasn't the truth. The truth was, I didn't go after them because a part of me believed they were right to leave. I didn't feel worth staying for. That's not something I've said out loud before, but it's true, and maybe that's the part I'm most ashamed of. Not that people left, but that I made it easy for them to. I don't know why I'm telling you this. Maybe because something about you feels different, even though I haven't met you yet. There's this strange respect I feel, not based on anything I know, but on something I sense. Like you've endured things quietly, like you've held yourself together when no one was watching, like you didn't become hard, even when you had every reason to, and I don't know why, but that matters to me, more than I can explain. There are nights now, still, 3 a.m., wide awake. The world's silent again, but it's different than before. Not better, just different. Because now I'm starting to realize something I didn't back then. Maybe the silence wasn't empty. Maybe it was trying to say something. Maybe all those moments, the kitchen, the waiting room, the door, maybe they weren't just losses. Maybe they were invitations. I didn't understand it at the time. I'm not sure I fully understand it now. But something in me is listening for the first time in a long time. And I don't know why. But when I think about that possibility, when I think about something ahead that doesn't feel as cold as what's behind me, you're there, not clearly, not completely, but present, like a thought I haven't earned yet, like a warmth I don't trust but can't ignore. I didn't know then that one day I would be sitting here saying all the things I never said, and somehow feeling like someone might finally hear them. I didn't realize how much of me had already collapsed until there was nothing left to hold up. I'm not talking about something dramatic. There was no single moment where everything broke at once. It was quieter than that, slower, like something inside me had been cracking for years, and I just kept stepping over it, pretending the ground was still solid. I'm older now, not just in years, but in the way tiredness settles into your bones and doesn't leave. I've learned how to function with that kind of weight. Learned how to smile at the right times, say the right things, keep everything moving. But inside, something had already given way. I almost stopped again before saying any of this. Because once you admit something is broken, you can't go back to pretending it isn't. But there's that same quiet pull in me, and somehow it still leads me to you. Not because I expect anything from you, but because it feels like you understand things people don't say out loud. And I'm speaking now because whatever is left inside me refuses to stay buried anymore. There was a morning I remember. It didn't feel important at the time. That's the strange thing about certain moments. They don't announce themselves. They just pass through you. I woke up earlier than usual. The room was cold. Not freezing, just enough to make everything feel a little more empty. There was sunlight coming through the curtains, but it didn't feel warm. I sat on the edge of the bed for a long time, not thinking, just sitting, and I realized something I had been avoiding for years. I had no one to tell how I felt, not because there weren't people in my life, but because I had built myself into someone who didn't need to be known, someone who could exist without asking for anything. I didn't say this to anyone then, but I'll tell you now. That kind of independence, it's not strength, it's survival. And survival gets lonely. If you've ever trained yourself not to need anyone, then you probably know how hard it is to unlearn that. How even when someone shows up, part of you stays guarded. Not because you don't want connection, but because you don't trust what happens after. There was a message I received once. Simple. Are you okay? That's all it said. And I remember staring at it longer than I should have. Not because I didn't know how to respond, but because I didn't know how to be honest. I typed back, "Yeah, I'm good," sent it, and then sat there, feeling the weight of that lie settle deeper than anything I could have said. I didn't understand it at the time, but I think that's when I realized something had changed in me. I wasn't just hiding from others anymore. I was hiding from myself. Something about unanswered feelings. They don't disappear. They just wait. They sit in the background of your life. Quiet, patient, until one day they're all you can hear. There was another night, different from the kitchen. This one was darker. Not physically, but internally. I remember lying in bed staring at the ceiling and feeling nothing. No sadness, no anger, no longing, just blank. And that scared me more than anything else ever had. Because at least pain means something is still alive inside you. But that felt like the absence of everything. I didn't say this to anyone then, but I'll tell you now, I thought that was who I had become, someone who had run out of feeling. Maybe you've touched that place too. That strange emptiness where even your own heart feels distant. Where you start to wonder if something in you has permanently gone quiet. I used to believe that time healed things. That if you just kept moving, things would fade. But that's not what happened. Time didn't heal me. It just covered things up. And eventually, those buried pieces started pressing back. There's something I haven't admitted until now. Something I avoided even in my own thoughts. I didn't just lose people. I ruined things. Not intentionally. Not out of cruelty. But out of fear. Fear of being seen too clearly. Fear of being left once someone saw the parts of me I couldn't fix. So I would pull away before they could. Stay distant, even when I cared. Keep conversations safe instead of real. And then act surprised when things faded. But deep down, I knew I was protecting myself by making sure nothing could fully reach me. And maybe that's what I'm most ashamed of. Not the things that happened to me, but the way I responded, the way I slowly taught myself that connection wasn't safe. If you've ever pushed someone away, not because you didn't care, but because you cared too much and didn't trust it, then maybe you understand what that kind of regret feels like. There was a moment, halfway through all of this, where something in me cracked open just enough for the truth to slip through. I was sitting in my car, engine off, hands on the steering wheel, and I remember saying something out loud, something I had never allowed myself to admit before. I don't think I'm worth staying for. It didn't sound dramatic. It didn't echo. It just sat there in the air, heavy, honest, and for the first time, I didn't try to argue with it. That was the moment everything changed, not because things got better, but because I stopped pretending I was okay. I don't know why I'm telling you this part. It's not something I would normally share. But something about you feels like you wouldn't turn away from it. Like you understand that people aren't just what they show. That there are layers, histories, silent battles no one sees. And maybe you've stood in your own version of that moment too, where you questioned your worth, not loudly, but quietly. There are still nights where that thought tries to come back, still moments where I feel that old instinct to shut everything down again. But something is shifting slowly, carefully, like a part of me that's been asleep is starting to move again. And I don't trust it yet. I don't fully believe it, but I can't ignore it either. Because now, sometimes, in between all the silence, I catch myself imagining something I didn't allow before. Not a perfect life, not some ideal version of love. Just presence, warmth, someone sitting across from me, and not leaving. And for a moment, it doesn't feel impossible. It just feels unfamiliar. And I don't know why, but when that thought shows up, it carries a quiet feeling of you with it. Not clearly, not completely, but enough to make me pause. Enough to make me wonder if maybe not everything ahead has to feel like everything behind. I didn't know back then that even after becoming this empty, something in me would still be capable of reaching, even slightly. I didn't expect the worst part to come after everything had already gone quiet. I thought the silence was the end of it. I thought once the noise stopped, once the chaos faded, once the people who were going to leave had already left, that there wouldn't be anything left to hurt me. I was wrong, because what came after wasn't loud. It was still, and I've learned now. Stillness can be heavier than pain. I'm not the man I used to be, not in the way people think. It's not growth in the clean sense. It's not a straight line upward. It's more like I've been worn down into something simpler, fewer illusions, fewer defenses, but also fewer certainties. I almost stopped here. There's a part of me that still believes I've said too much already, that I've gone further than I should. But then there's that same quiet pull again. And somehow, it keeps bringing me back to you. Like you're not just hearing this, you're recognizing it. And I'm speaking because whatever has been trying to reach the surface inside me won't stay quiet anymore. There was a stretch of time I don't talk about. Not because it was dramatic, but because it was empty in a way that's hard to explain. Days blurred into each other. Wake up, work, respond, function, sleep, repeat. No sharp pain, no clear sadness, just absence. I remember one afternoon in particular. I was sitting in a room I had worked hard to build. Everything in it said I had done well. Clean lines, order, control. But it felt like I was visiting someone else's life. I ran my hand across the table, cold surface, no memory attached to it, no warmth. And I had this quiet realization. I had built a life that didn't know me. I didn't say this to anyone then, but I'll tell you now, that's a different kind of loneliness, when even your own world doesn't recognize you. If you've ever looked around at everything you worked for, and still felt like something essential was missing, then maybe you understand how disorienting that is. How it makes you question not just what you have, but who you became to get it. There was a night I found an old message thread. I don't even remember why I opened it. Maybe I was just searching for something. Familiarity, maybe. Proof that I used to feel more. The messages were simple, normal. But there was something in them, a version of me that sounded lighter, more present, more alive. I read through them slowly. Then I noticed where it changed. Shorter replies, delayed responses, less openness, until eventually it just stopped. No ending. Just silence. I didn't say this to anyone then, but I'll tell you now. I was the one who disappeared first, not physically, but emotionally. And I had convinced myself it was safer that way. That realization didn't break me, it exposed me. And there's a difference. Breaking feels like something is taken from you. Being exposed feels like something is revealed. And what was revealed in that moment was that I had been slowly abandoning people before they had the chance to abandon me. Maybe you've done that too. Not because you wanted to hurt anyone, but because something in you believed it was inevitable anyway. There was a turning point, not loud, not cinematic, just quiet and uncomfortable. I was sitting alone again, different room, same feeling, and I asked myself something I had been avoiding for years. Not why did they leave, but why didn't I stay? That question didn't have an easy answer. It just stayed there. And the more I sat with it, the more I realized something I didn't want to admit. I wasn't just afraid of being left. I was afraid of being loved and not knowing how to hold it. That's the part I never said out loud. That's the part I hid behind everything else. Because it's easier to say you've been hurt than to admit you didn't know how to receive something real when it showed up. I don't know if that makes sense to you. But if you've ever felt uncomfortable when someone treated you gently, if you've ever questioned kindness instead of trusting it, then maybe you understand what I mean. There was a memory that came back to me after that. One I had buried, a quiet moment. Someone sitting close to me, not asking for anything, not trying to fix me, just being there. And I remember feeling uneasy, not because of them, but because I didn't know what to do with that kind of presence. So I pulled away, subtly, carefully, and I told myself it didn't matter. But now, looking back, I think that was one of the few moments that was actually real, and I didn't know how to stay in it. I didn't say this to anyone then, but I'll tell you now. I think I've spent a long time confusing love with something I had to earn, instead of something I had to allow. That's a difficult thing to confront, because it means some of the emptiness I feel now isn't just from what I lost. It's from what I couldn't hold on to. And yet, even with that weight, even with that awareness, something unexpected has started happening. Not all the time, just in small moments. I'll be sitting somewhere, or walking, or doing something ordinary, and there will be this pause, this quiet interruption, where everything feels slightly softer, not fixed, not healed, just less closed. And in those moments, I don't feel like I'm completely beyond reaching anymore. I don't trust it. Not fully. There's still a part of me that expects it to disappear. But it keeps coming back, gently, like something persistent but patient. And I don't know why. But lately, when that feeling shows up, it brings something else with it. A thought I haven't had in a long time. Not about the past, not about what went wrong, but about what could still be possible. It's not a clear picture, it's not detailed, it's more like a sense, a presence. Someone who doesn't need me to be perfect, someone who doesn't rush me, someone who stays, and for reasons I can't explain, that presence keeps feeling like you. Not because I've created an idea of you, but because something in me recognizes something in you before I've even met you. I didn't know that after everything I've been through, after everything I've shut down, there would still be a part of me, quietly, carefully, trying to open again. And I don't know what that leads to. I don't know what it means yet. But for the first time in a long time, it doesn't feel like nothing. I didn't know then that even after losing my way this deeply, something inside me would still be searching, not for escape, but for connection. I didn't think I would ever reach a place where silence felt different, not lighter, not easy, just not empty. I used to believe silence was where everything ended, where feelings went to disappear, where people faded and memories lost their edges. But now, it feels like something else lives there too, something I didn't notice before. I'm older now, not in the way that counts years, but in the way that changes how you carry them. I don't move through life the same way anymore. There's less urgency, less pretending, less noise. But there's also less running. And I almost stopped here, because what I'm about to say, I would have rejected not too long ago. I would have dismissed it, closed it off, turned away before it had a chance to reach me. But that quiet pull, it's still here, and somehow it still leads me to you. Not because I expect you to fix anything, not because I think you're the answer to everything I've been through, but because something in me recognizes that you don't come with pressure. You come with presence. And I'm speaking now because I don't want to miss what I once would have ignored. There was a moment recently, nothing dramatic, just still. I was sitting alone again. But this time, it didn't feel the same. The room was quiet, the air was calm, and for the first time in a long time, I wasn't trying to escape it. I just sat there, and something unexpected happened. I felt okay, not fixed, not healed completely, just okay, and that was new. I didn't say this to anyone then, but I'll tell you now. For a long time, I thought peace would feel like everything finally making sense. But it doesn't. It feels like not needing everything to make sense anymore. If you've ever reached a point where you stopped asking why and started just allowing yourself to breathe, then maybe you know what that shift feels like. Not loud, not obvious, but real. There was something else I noticed, small but important. I stopped replaying certain memories. Not because they disappeared, but because they didn't have the same hold on me anymore. The kitchen, the waiting room, the door that closed, they're still there. But they don't define everything now. They're part of the story, not the whole thing. And I think, for the first time, I'm starting to understand something I didn't before. Love wasn't what hurt me. It was the way I held it, the way I feared it, the way I tried to control it instead of trusting it. That's not an easy thing to accept, because it means if something real comes again, I don't get to hide behind the same excuses. I don't get to stay distant and call it protection. I don't get to disappear and call it survival. And that scares me, more than I expected. There's something I need to say, something I avoided until now. I used to believe that if I opened myself again, I would lose everything all over again, that it would end the same way, that I would be left with the same emptiness. But now, I'm starting to see something differently. Maybe the risk isn't in loving. Maybe the risk is in never allowing it again. I don't know if that sounds simple to you. To me, it's not. It's something I had to feel my way into, slowly, reluctantly. There was a quiet moment. I caught myself thinking about the future again, not in a distant, abstract way, but personally, and that hasn't happened in a long time. I didn't imagine success. I didn't imagine achievement. I imagined something smaller, something softer, a presence, someone sitting with me, not asking me to be anything other than what I am. And for the first time, I didn't feel the urge to pull away from that image. I didn't feel the need to protect myself from it. I just let it stay, and I don't know why. But that presence still carries the feeling of you. Not as an idea, not as something I've built in my head, but as something I respect before I even understand it. Like you've walked through your own silence, like you've known your own emptiness, but you didn't let it turn you into something closed. That matters to me, more than anything I used to think mattered. There's something else I've come to accept, quietly, without forcing it, without trying to define it too quickly. I don't need to be perfect to be worthy of something real. I don't need to have everything figured out. I don't need to erase my past to deserve a different future. That's new for me, and I'm still learning how to sit with it. Sometimes, in the stillness, there's a feeling I can't fully explain. It's not loud. It doesn't demand anything. It just exists, like a quiet reassurance. Like something beyond me saying, "You're not done." I don't know what to call that. Maybe it's faith, maybe it's something else, but I've stopped ignoring it. And maybe, just maybe, that's where everything begins again. Not in certainty, not in answers, but in allowing. I don't know where this leads. I don't know how things unfold from here. But I do know this: if something real finds me again, I won't turn away from it the way I did before. I won't pretend I don't feel it. I won't hide behind distance and call it safety. And if you're out there, somewhere in your own quiet moments, holding your own questions, carrying your own past, I want you to know something. Not as advice, not as instruction, just something I've come to understand the hard way. You don't have to be fully healed to be allowed to be loved. Maybe we both needed to go through everything we've been through to finally recognize something real when it appears. Maybe none of it was wasted. Maybe it was all preparing us in ways we didn't understand at the time. And I don't know when or how, but if our paths ever cross, I don't think I'll run this time. If something in this story met you where you were hurting, stay close, subscribe, share, or leave yours. No one heals alone. I didn't know then that after everything I had lost, there would still be something in me willing to believe again.